I'm unemployable now, I think.
Are
pretty
you?
Much.
Why do you think that?
I've never really had any other boss other than one boss.
So you set the precedent and you just go, it's what I want done.
I know, unfortunately, my team would say, yes, I do set the precedent, which is not always necessarily a straight line.
Yeah.
The whole thing with two people with ADHD, right, is we'll both just talk. But we'll both have a really good time, though.
And that's why we're setting up for a fucking great podcast recording right here. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Yarns with Andy. We've got Lizzi Whaley, who's the CEO of Spaceworks Interiors. Welcome Lizzi. Lizzi, and today we're going to be talking all about digital well-being, design, beautiful interior design, fit out, innovation, tech.
Love it. Perfect.
Yeah?
Great combo. Yeah.
Welcome Lizzi.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, where do I start? It's been an interesting and long journey, although my life with design has been pretty much a one career. I basically started here in my early 20s and I haven't left. In fact, I think I'm probably
Yeah, it sounds like me.
I'm unemployable now, I think.
Are
pretty
you?
much. Yeah, absolutely.
Why do you think that?
Well, because I've never had any other job. And actually, to be honest, I've never really had any other boss other than one boss that I had for about 8 years. But then it's been me. So I don't think I could follow instruction now.
Yeah, interesting. So you set the precedent. You just go, it's what I want done.
I know. Unfortunately, my team would say, yes, I do set the precedent, which is not always necessarily a straight line.
You're the big bad boss lady. Lizzie the Lizard, the boss lady.
Lizzie the Lizard, that's it.
No, Lizzie the Lizard, the boss lady.
Yeah, well, that's it. And
Yeah.
I am well known for giving half of the information.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and they
That
have to
doesn't
try
sound
and
great.
fill in all the gaps to try and
Yeah.
figure out what it is I really mean.
Yeah. So you're thinking faster than you can actually talk. That's what's happening.
No, I still talk pretty fast though, but I think
Yeah.
faster than I talk, absolutely.
Yeah, I have the same problem, so I can relate. ADHD to ADHD, I get it.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
definitely.
You know, I've been told in the podcast that I've actually got to listen to my guests more than actually fucking talking over them.
Well, that's the whole thing with two people with ADHD, right? Is we'll both just talk.
Over each other.
Yeah.
Great.
But we'll both have a really good time though.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I'll
Leave
tell you
it and be like, that was epic.
Yeah.
Did he say anything? I don't know. I don't care, but I sounded great.
Exactly. And that's why we're setting up for a fucking great podcast recording right here. Yeah?
Goodness me. Yeah.
Goodness me. Let's go. Right. Okay. Tell me about Spaceworks.
Spaceworks. Yeah. So we are having our 25th birthday this year.
Oh, cool.
And
Do I get an invite?
Absolutely.
Cool. We just met 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
so
big
I'll already get an
party.
invite.
Sometime in November, you know.
Spicy mugs?
Absolutely. Chili
Done.
margaritas.
Chili
for
mugs?
sure.
Yeah, cool.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Sweet.
definitely.
All right.
So 25 years on November the 1st.
Yep.
And I have owned the business for 19 years. And
Oh, cool.
I've been working there for 22 years.
Holy shit. That's a long time.
That's why I'm unemployable.
Okay.
This is my succession plan is to be there till I die, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah, unfortunately for the team, but yeah.
Okay. Unfortunately, the team. I pity your team. I'd love to meet them someday.
Yeah.
What do you guys do? What do you guys
We
do?
are commercial interior designers, so we have we work across a number of different sectors, so office, retail, hospitality, and aged care.
Yep.
Generally commercial, although we do do a bit of residential for our commercial clients.
And you take it all the way from design through to consenting.
And right the way through to construction
Yep.
for some projects. For the larger projects, we don't build them, we just design monitor them. But yeah, we do end to end, particularly if our clients want to.
Yep.
But a lot of the projects that we do, we'll do rollouts, we'll do a lot of repeat work.
Yeah, right.
And then with a lot of our big aged care providers, we'll do the design and all the furniture and
Oh,
operational supply specifications and stuff like that. So
How big is the team?
well, ranges. I think through COVID, there was a bit of a down shrinkage of the team.
Yeah.
So we've got about 15 in Auckland and 3 in Wellington.
Oh, cool.
And
Nice.
we've got one that's just about to move to Queenstown. So
Oh,
as we
wow.
spread back,
Queenstown's a booming market now, eh?
it is a booming market. And we're doing
Yeah.
the Skyline project down there. So we've been working on Skyline now for about 3 years.
Right.
And we've got
Is this the new gondola that they put up?
Yeah, so we're doing
right.
the market kitchen and the retail and also the office up there.
They are going to put another gondola up there?
No,
They're
the
not?
gondola that's gone up there is just bigger.
It's just bigger.
Yes,
Right.
bigger and faster, I think.
thought they were going to put up another gondola there at some point.
No.
No,
I
sorry,
well,
I got wrong
well, I don't know.
information.
Unless you've got a memo that I haven't got. But we're not to anything to do with the gondola itself. Just more about the experience at the top.
Maybe I got a
Yeah.
memo that you
Yeah.
didn't. Who
Yeah.
knows? Cross-reference notes later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are basically, I would like to say that we're the glue. So whenever a client comes to us and says, we need this, we just, as long as it's within our skill set, we provide that. We don't take people on a very linear journey. It's very much a, what do you need? Can we do it? Yes, great. Well, we'll do it.
So do you guys dabble in project management at the same time?
Only for the projects that we're delivering, and certainly in the smaller jobs like our retail rollouts and things like that, yes, because it's not a huge amount of project management.
Yeah.
But anything that's large scale, no, we would design monitor that.
Just design monitor. Yeah, cool. Okay. So one of the questions I had was, okay, so you're a design company which does design, but you also, you care about well-being and creating spaces for well-being. What does that mean to you?
Well, in fact, I would tell you that the people that use the space matter to me more than the space itself. Because
Okay.
I think that space influences either behaviour or mood, or that whole environment has a huge play on how people move through space,
Yeah.
whether they come back, whether they stay, all of those sorts of things. So health and well-being is an outcome, but it's also a key driver for the people that use that space. And I think the way that we design spaces is based on how we want people to feel in that space. And if you can create a form of emotive response from the users, that's actually how you get them to come back. It's how you get them to stay. It's how you get them to shop. For an aged care provider, it's how you get them to buy from this aged care provider rather than that one. So
Yeah.
space is really influential in the way we get people to feel. And it's a massive driver for me personally, because I am all about people.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the whole journey into design has been about people and elevating them, elevating their place in business,
Yeah.
elevating their experience of life.
So it's more so what you're saying is it's almost how I feel as a person when I walk into one of the spaces you've designed matters a lot.
Absolutely. Like one of the sayings we used to have is that we change the experience that people have of the world simply through the design that we create in spaces. And I've always said to our team that if you walk into a space and you say that Spaceworks did it, we failed. Because you should never know what we have done. You should know what that business wants for their people, for their space, for their customers,
Wow.
what experience they want to have.
That's really cool.
And that's the key driver, is because you want to bring to life someone else's vision, not our vision.
Yeah, because your vision's almost superior. You're not selling the product. You're not actually creating the space.
Completely.
You don't own the space.
No, and
You're
we
delivering
don't
a service.
operate it afterwards either,
You
right?
don't,
So
yeah.
you're trying to create an environment where people get brand loyalty or repeat business. And I think that design is hugely impactful in terms of business success. So if we design a space that creates all of those feelings and that people feel good in, then essentially we're enhancing business success, because people will continue to shop there, or they'll continue to dine there, or they'll choose to live there. So
Yeah.
our job is to drive business success.
Yeah, cool. I mean, coming to think of it, that's more like downtown Auckland, right? If you the transformation of that entire Quay Street.
That whole precinct down there,
that
Britomart.
whole precinct. Now they all look so similar. It feels like an area that you want to be in. I mean, a little bit probably because Queen Street's taken over by CRL and
Yes.
with Corns.
Yes,
And then
at
you
the
go-
moment it is, for sure.
Oh fuck! It has been for the last 10 years, hasn't it? Like,
It feels like a never-ending journey.
yeah,
But do you know what? When they take all of those cones and things away and we can drive the streets again,
yeah.
give us a month and we'll have completely forgotten what it was like.
You reckon?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that when it goes back to business as usual,
Yeah.
you'll kind of remember what it was like, but it just so quickly
You know,
will pass.
I went to university as a student here in 2010. Yeah. Queen Street was happening, mate. It
Oh,
was
completely.
going on.
We used to hang out on Queen Street
Yeah,
after
me too.
Unitec. I'm not Unitec, AUT.
Oh, you went to
lunchtime.
AUT too?
I did, yeah.
I went to
yeah.
AUT too.
Yeah, absolutely. Just go and hang out down in Queen
Yeah.
Street, watch all the people going past. It was
Did
fantastic.
you go out on student nights?
Oh, did I? I was a creative student. Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
That's where I got my creative inspiration. That's why we call it wine-spiration.
Wine-spiration, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The student nights at AUT were the best at fucking
Oh,
Queen Street.
still
It was
are.
incredible.
Still are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's some of my best nights that I can or cannot remember, but
Do you need to remember them all?
no, not necessarily.
Yeah.
I remember how I felt, Liz.
Yeah. This is it. How did the environment make
How
me
did,
feel?
how did I
Yeah.
feel?
Yeah.
Exactly. No, that's really cool. That's really cool. I love your vision. I love your mission of what you're trying to do. Create all these really cool spaces and make people feel, really cool.
Create an emotive response. Yeah.
An emotive response. It's a really cool word. Liz, would you agree that the design construct process is currently almost broken in our industry?
Absolutely. It's so time heavy, and it's really difficult to get speed and momentum based on the technology and tools that we're still using. I feel a little bit like we're dinosaurs in the industry.
Yeah, we kind of go, we design first, we build it next, and then we fix it later.
But everything's so linear and it just isn't optimized. It's such a manual process. Even though we are using some really interesting tools and technology,
Yeah.
it still is such a long process from the initial idea to the actual completed construction of a building.
Yeah. Well, why do you think that is?
I think that we are not fast enough as an industry in terms of the uptake of tools and technology that there is around.
Yep.
I think partly fear.
Fear?
Yeah, I do think fear in terms of upskilling what we don't know. We're sticking to the things and the tools that we know. Like it's the devil's in the detail. It's the things that you know, and we just kind of stick with that. And I really think that the industry's due for a great big disruption. And unfortunately, I think that people are quite scared of the disruption that's coming through AI, through VR, through AR and those sorts of things, and not sure what that means for their job, for their role, and for the future of the industry.
Yeah. And how they can adopt and implement it within the process.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with you. So you go design first, then you go consent, then you go get a main contractor on board, procure the main contractor, build it. Very linear.
Very linear.
Very linear.
Also the wrong way to go about it. I mean, now in situations where we're having all the key stakeholders at the table right at the very beginning, where it is even a germ of an idea, is the most powerful way to approach any project. If you've got the air conditioning guy sitting in the room with the fire guy, with the designers before we even start, and they understand the intention of the project and where we want to go, you can speed up a huge amount of the process, but also the creative output at the end. It's so much better, and you can even cost the job better because you're all kind of engaged right from the beginning. So I feel that
But don't you think it'll get really chaotic if you had everybody inputting into your concept design, say for concept design? Or you're just at your massing drawing right now. Create a massing drawing.
There's always a pecking order.
Yeah, 100%.
And people need to know that when their place and when their information is valuable. But say, for example, a project has really strong sustainability outcomes that it wants to achieve.
Yep.
If you go through the design process and then send it out to all the consultants and then do it, the decisions we've made in the early stages may then actually have massive impacts to sustainability.
Yeah.
Or if we let it loose with the consultants and they start designing and doing things, well, then we may end up with a situation that completely is detrimental to the creative process. So I think that everybody is pretty clear, or needs to be clear, in terms of roles and responsibilities as to what their input is and what their key driver is.
But this will then come back to the forms of contract, right?
Absolutely.
Forms a contract on what you're engaged on with the client, forms a contract on what you're actually taking on the main contractor to build the job.
And I also think the desire for the clients to have all the key stakeholders involved at the beginning. And I think clients can get a bit scared that they're going to double dip or triple dip or all those sorts of things about having expensive consultants at the table. But I actually think what happens in the outcome is that you can save either speed to market or construction costs.
Yep.
Massive.
Oh, 100%. If you save 5 days of the entire build cycle, just through good efficient design and good coordination.
And ability to trade, all those sorts of things. So
you've just saved, what, $40,000 of P&G a day or whatever, you know?
Absolutely.
It's fucking insanity how much you'd save just by doing that upfront process, you know?
And I think that is a really important part of the construction process, but also think that the design process that we're undertaking is also really arduous and long.
Yeah.
The way that we detail and document and things like that, it takes weeks, if not months.
Why is that? Because of the code? You've got to adhere to the building code?
Building code, technology. We're still requiring heavily for people to know stuff rather than having tools like AI being helping to inform and provide compliance checks and things like that. So a lot of that kind of stuff I see in the future helping us to speed up our product to market, which I'm actually really excited about. And from a design tooling perspective, we use a lot of VR and AR, which I love because it helps, particularly with our clients that can't visualize space.
Yeah.
It allows them to see what they're signing up for. It allows them to commit to the money that they're spending without the same level of nervousness.
Yeah, right.
And a design and construction project for some people can be incredibly intense, right?
Yeah.
We can be spending hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And to give people certainty that they're actually spending their money well is a gift. It's a blessing. So by using those tools, we help people to spend money with certainty, basically.
Yeah. You said a few interesting things, right? Okay. So we want people to start working smarter, faster, better. That's what we're saying.
Absolutely.
And adopt AI. Great. But how do you do that when the forms of current contract that's in play do not even allow for digital frameworks to be implemented?
Look, I think that's going to be an uphill battle, and I think
it's going to be a huge uphill battle.
Massive uphill battle, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be client-led in the end rather than industry-led.
Yeah.
And I think when clients start demanding a different process, different speed, I think that trickles downhill. Like I think I've seen a lot of initiatives that have attempted to happen inside of industry, and unless the client wants it and they can actually see the benefit to them, it doesn't happen.
But here's the problem,
enough.
though, right? Okay, so the client, you're saying it's going to be client-led. I don't disagree with that. But then any client that you take is going to go, fuck, it's going to cost me X amount of money as a digital framework to set up a whole, federated BIM model right from the get-go. And what value is that going to give me? All of that. They don't understand. And they go, they look at it as a huge investment up front. They don't want to do it.
We have to start showing them the same value, but in dollars or in language that they speak.
Which is money.
Yeah. I mean,
it's money or time.
Absolutely.
Because technically, time is actually way more expensive than money.
Completely.
Because
but like they say, time is money, right? Like
it's not. It's way more expensive. That's where I disagree.
You reckon time's more expensive?
100%.
Yeah.
Time is way more expensive than money. You know what? Take away every single dollar I have. I can make money again.
Yeah, true, but you can't
take
make
away
up more time. Yeah,
you take away my
absolutely.
time. I cannot buy time. It's as simple as that for me.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think we do a lot of work in the sustainability space, and the only way to explain to people about sustainability is to talk in a language that they speak. So when we talk about carbon, we talk about kilometres travelled. So,
Carbon footprints.
if I say to somebody that's the equivalent of 500,000 kilometres in a car, they'll be like, well, I couldn't drive that in my lifetime. And I'm like, yes, but that's how much carbon you're using in a small 300 square metre office.
Yeah, right.
So when you start to speak to people in the same language, and at the moment we're just not communicating in a way that resonates enough for people. And I think when we can and when we do, then change will start to happen. But
interesting.
Any successful thing has to come from industry as well. But it's usually when there's the downward pressure from client that I actually find that it starts to be taken up.
Yeah, right. Can you tell us some of the AR, VR tools they use for anybody that hasn't gotten into that space and would like to explore that space?
So
how would they go about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a deep and wide topic, right? VR and AR. So we started with VR, which is obviously we put on a headset and we can do a 3D model.
What are you using, the Quest 2?
No,
Quest 3?
Look, off the top of my head, I can't tell you what headset we're using.
Because I have a Quest 2 which I play around with quite a bit.
Do you?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I can't tell you off the top of my head. Yeah. I will tell you, but I can't.
That's okay.
But we use ArchiCAD as our 3D modelling program. Great for interiors. And what we were finding is that clients weren't able to necessarily visualize their space. And what blows my mind is that we work in these 3D models, yet we go and print them out on a 2D piece of paper. So it's not a 3D model at all. I mean, we can get some great perspective shots, but it doesn't give the client a feeling of the space.
Okay, step it back one step.
Yes.
Do you start from 2D and go to 3D? Or do you start in 3D and then go to 2D?
We build completely in 3D. So we build the whole model in 3D.
That's amazing.
But when you
I'll tell you what, you're part of the 1% of designers.
Yes.
No, I've done this research. You're part of the 1% of designers in New Zealand and Australia put together that actually starts in 3D and goes to 2D.
Yeah.
And I have huge respect for that, by the way. So we massive respect.
Build the whole model in 3D. But then, when you capture a view or an image, you're basically printing it on a flat piece of paper.
Well, you have to. Well, I mean, what are the choices you have? Okay, how do you approve a 3D model?
Exactly.
How do you get your insurances covered off with the 2D model where you've done the review, you've got it checked, you then have a peer review, got it checked, got it signed off, there's a revision number, blah, 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 blah.
But what we were finding, though, is that clients, when they see a really big space on an A4 sheet of paper, they would start to make sort of these critical judgment calls, and they're not designers. They'd start to make calls on whether materiality worked or whether they needed the space to be bigger, all those sorts of things. But they're really not looking at anything that's the right scale. So we were like, well, we have to actually take you into this space so you can see it, so you can look around, you can look at the walls, you can see that actually this wall needs something on it.
Yeah.
But if you were looking at a picture like that, that wall doesn't really sort of equate. It's not really a big part of the whole process and journey. So by bringing this whole experience together, the moment a client puts on a VR headset, they just can feel immediately what the space is like. And
they can walk through it, fly through it,
they
whatever.
can walk, and they can end up on tables and all sorts of things like that. And
have you seen this company in Australia that's actually started up their new business, which is apparently doing really well? They've rented out an entire massive warehouse, and they overlay plans in real life onto the floor plans just on the floor,
Yeah.
digitally.
Yeah.
And you can actually walk through these different spaces.
And we actually did that with not that particular version, but we had 2 degrees. We wanted to lay out the space so that they could physically walk it. Because one of the things with a VR headset is it's a one-person experience.
Not necessarily. You can have multiple VR headsets
Multiple
that you
people
connect into.
If you're set up for that.
I've had meetings with a 3D model where we were all rotating it.
Have you? With headsets on?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, me, a couple of other people from Hawke's Bay, another person from another part of the world.
That's a fair amount of kit.
Which is really cool, by the way. I don't think we spoke anything useful in that meeting. It's just the fact that we could do it.
You were like gaming, basically.
Oh, fuck yeah. We were just sitting down there rotating the model, walking up, be like, oh, what about this space? What about that?
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you could solve RFIs like that.
Oh, it'd be amazing.
It's insane.
Incredible. Well, so this 2 degree store, we had about 10 to 15 different stakeholders that needed to walk around the size of the store.
Yep.
And they wanted to experience it together and be like, is this big enough? Is this wide enough? Is this high enough? So we ended up having to do it with boxes. We literally made up a whole lot of boxes from warehouse stationery and laid out the store. So I understand the concept of doing something like that floor plan onto the floor. Makes huge amount of sense, especially for group walkarounds and spatial layouts and things like that. But there's nothing like VR to tell you, does this actually feel good?
Yeah, right.
Have I connected with the space? Is it enough? Do I need to tell more? And so that's what VR does.
Because then it's the lighting and it's
all of it, materiality, all that sort of stuff.
The materials used. Yeah, interesting.
And then we've just started using AR. And are just going through trials.
Have you got some AR goggles?
No, we've just been using it on iPads because we want to be able to...
You're projecting it.
Yeah,
okay,
we want to be able to go into the actual space and we don't want to have to bring people to the office to experience it. So that allowed us to take a similar kind of experience but take it out of the office.
So I know I'm going a little technical here, but let me just ask you one question. So to project the AI, you're going from a 3D model from ArchiCAD, you're moving it to an IFC file type. Yeah, and the IFC is being able to project out of an iPad on an iPad, you can actually project it onto a space.
Absolutely, and when we
I'd love to pick your brains more on that.
Yeah, when we take
but
it
probably
from,
the people listening to us don't give a fuck about that. I do though.
Yeah,
maybe they do. I don't know.
When we take it from an ArchiCAD model, we turn off the walls because the space actually defines the space. So you only just put in the inside components. But it's an incredibly interesting part. I'm big on innovation and big on anything that helps the design process, and I'm all about introducing innovation where it helps the client make decisions to keep moving the project forward.
Why haven't we met before?
We have now.
We have now.
Yeah.
Mate, hats off to you with you going straight from 3D to 2D. You're designing in 3D. That's like, I don't think you understand what a revolutionary step that is in the industry.
I'm going to have to tell the team they're going to love knowing that they're the 1%.
I ran a survey on
Spaceworks,
LinkedIn.
you're the 1%.
You are. Yeah. There's only, I think, one other company that I know of in New Zealand that actually does that. So, yeah, well done. Liz, we know the process of doing fit out. So the fit out process itself generates a boatload of waste. Mm-hmm. How do you design out the waste and make that entire process a bit more sustainable? I know this is something you're really passionate about, so I'm very interested in what you have to say.
It's actually not easy to design out waste, and it's also not easy to look at... You can't just sort of look at waste on its own. You have to look at waste and carbon, and I feel really strongly about both.
Yeah.
There are definitely climate naysayers, and I'm all about people having their perspective on sustainability.
Sure.
One of the things I do say to climate naysayers, though, is that fine, well, we won't talk about carbon, but you've got to admit and agree
you're contributing to landfill.
Continually putting waste, and we put 17,000 tons of waste into landfill a day from the construction sector.
17,000
tons of waste.
Where does all that go?
It goes into class 1 landfills around the country. So depending on where the project is, but we are just filling up our country full of waste. The construction sector, it's an enormous amount. So I got really passionate about sustainability in lockdown because I had a little bit of extra time on my hands, as we did, and I was starting to think, well, we've been in business now for, at that time, about 22 years. What was our impact in terms of sustainability? What kind of waste have we contributed, and what kind of carbon have we contributed to the atmosphere? Because we're considered a small small to medium-sized business, and a lot of sustainability is happening around new builds. There's lots of great initiatives happening around new builds. But I was like, from a fit-out perspective, we build, we demolish, we build, we demolish. In fact, we've just turned over our 2,100th job in 25 years.
Got you.
So then
That's
I
a lot
was
of
like,
jobs.
it's an enormous amount, right? So I was like, well, how much of that is waste and how much of it is carbon? And we calculated that we had done over 20,000 flights from Auckland to London in terms of carbon. That is a lot of flights.
20,000 flights.
20,000 flights.
From here to England and back. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a lot of flights.
It's a lot of flights.
Yeah.
No person could do that. And in terms of waste, we had put over the equivalent of 13,000 homes into landfill. And I say all those things because I wanted to give myself some inspiration as to how to make change. And for also people to understand that the fit-out sector might only be a $100,000 job or a 200 or a 300 or a 500. And we think of those as small jobs. But in actual fact, we are constantly turning over... churning over fit-outs.
Yeah.
And in fact, we cannot be ignored in terms of our impact to the construction sector. And we're not measuring the difference between new build and that demolition versus residential versus fit-out sector. And we need
commercial
to.
fit-outs, yeah.
We absolutely need
because
to.
commercial fit-out, you're going to design a space and then that space is going to get rented to somebody else and then you go, yep, demolish the whole thing, restart again.
All the
all of that
malls
goes to...
require most of their fit-outs to be upgraded every 5 to 10 years.
How do you change that?
Well...
Yeah, I mean, you can't stop a brand saying, "Oh, you're doing a brand refresh. I'm not gonna redesign your space." Like,
Yeah, well,
you've got to redesign the space if they're doing a brand refresh.
It's the malls that generally want the
Yep.
change, and you kind of understand that, right? Because from a shopper experience, I want to feel like I'm going into a new,
100%.
well looked after space. So it really does have an impact on me as a shopper. But we have to be more mindful about the products and the materials, the way we demolish,
Right. So
the
you're
way
coming
we
back to the design.
deconstruct. Absolutely. It actually all goes back to design.
And the reuse of your materials that you demolish.
Absolutely, the reuse and how we dispose of them. Because I think at the moment what we do is we go in and we demolish. We're in and out within 24 hours
Rip
for a
shit and bust.
demolition. Rip, shit and bust, right? So if there is
That happens all the time. It's just, that's
most
normal.
of the time, it's
Yeah.
very normal.
Yeah.
So if we have a more measured approach to how we're going to do it and how we're going to pull it apart, then you can actually divert anywhere between 70 to 90% of construction sector waste away from landfills.
Yeah.
But you've got to want to do it.
Yeah. Have you heard of that app Mutu? MUTU?
Yes, know them very well.
You know them very well?
Yes.
Yeah. They're working in this space where they're promoting reuse.
Yeah.
He was on the podcast actually.
Yes, so I do a lot of work with both council and those various other organisations around waste. So there's kind of a core group of us that are really passionate about construction
Really
sector
cool.
waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we all know each other. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows. Mate, this industry is so incestuous. Everybody knows everybody.
Oh, everyone knows everyone. No
Everybody.
secrets.
No secrets, none.
Or actually heaps of secrets, but we just know all of them.
Hey, and then we just talk about it on the phone
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
Just call him fucking that guy, I tell ya.
Yeah, so sustainability is a super big passion of mine.
Yeah,
and
cool.
It's my legacy. It is the thing that I want to make the biggest impact in when I leave the industry at some point, is to say that I was able to make remarkable change in this area.
Interesting. Now, watch the space, everybody, if you're interested in sustainability. Lizzi Whaley, also called as Lizzie the Lizard.
Yeah. Well, you can't call me Lizzie the Lizard.
I can't?
No, because that belongs to the person that wrote into the show and said that. Like,
Oh,
they
right.
are iconic in my eyes now.
Are they?
Yeah. I'm like, good on you. Like,
Yeah.
wicked. Like, what a derogatory statement to say. I mean,
sorry.
could you not think of anything better? I mean, really?
For
I'm
those of you,
so upset.
for those of you who are not following, Liz was the judge at the block.
Season 8. The block. I think
Season
it was
8,
yeah.
season 8, the block,
Yeah.
and somebody
I
responded.
got some hate mail.
Hate mail.
Yeah, Lizzie the Lizard.
Oh, mate. I'm really sorry.
I love it. I'm not offended at all.
I get a lot of hate mail too, so like I said,
Good.
I
Hey,
get shit,
good. We could swap.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
could swap
fuck.
stories.
I
Great.
get a shit ton of fucking hate mail, and I'm like, fucking hell. Fucking keyboard warriors. You know, it's interesting with these hate mail people, right? Have you actually gone and actually looked into their profile? They barely have a single post and they don't have pictures of themselves out there.
Oh, they're just they're just keyboard
It's fucking
warriors.
keyboard warriors. And you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't have time for you.
No.
I've got better shit to do.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to sustainability.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. I love your vision. It's fucking
Thanks.
incredible. And are you happy for anybody that's interested in that space to reach out to you? So if you are, guys, just reach out to Lizzi.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we found is the journey to understand waste and carbon is a really big uphill battle.
Yeah.
So we have now developed tools that make it really cost effective and really easy for people to actually be able to measure both.
Yeah.
And if they want to do carbon reduce or carbon zero, we have all those tools to do that.
Do you work with demolition contractors? Have you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
People that... we now call it deconstruction.
Sorry.
Demolition. We all love a bit of demolition. That's rip, shit and bust. But now we like to pull things apart.
Deconstruction.
Yes, deconstruction.
Yeah, so slowly.
Slowly.
Yeah,
Not
effectively
too
for
slowly, 'cause
reuse.
time is money.
Time is more expensive than money.
Absolutely.
Now, you should get in touch with Blair Chant from Henderson Demo. I don't know if you know him.
No, I don't.
He's a big sustainability buff as well. So he's
I love him. Yeah.
he's been on the podcast. So I've had quite a few people on the podcast, but
You should have like a podcast meet and greet.
I do actually.
Oh, do you? Okay, we have to... where's my invite?
But you just came on as a guest to it, like.
Okay, now I need an invite.
Now you'll get an invite. Now, every year, all my guests get invited to Strategic Planning's Christmas party, which is at the Remuera Golf Club.
Perfect.
And
Do we get to play golf?
Yeah.
Oh,
at the driving range, happens every year.
Oh, marvellous. Love it.
We call it a November to remember because I'm too cheap and I don't want to pay Remuera Golf Club to host it in December. Which is crazy expensive. Like.
So you do it on November the 30th, so it rolls into December?
Correct. So then I then preempt all the other Christmas parties and I'm always the first Christmas party.
Perfect.
And it's always in November to remember at Strategic Planning. That's what we go with.
Love it. It's good.
Yeah, and because I'm cheap. It's a lot cheaper in November versus December, right?
You're efficient. You're constantly being purposeful with your money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm strategically planning it.
Yeah, that's it.
If you could redesign any space in Auckland, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Oh, see, I don't know if I'd redesign any space, to be honest. Oh, well, actually, no, that's not true. This is ADHD kicking in.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally picture you walking into a mall and actually saying, fuck, that's not how it should be. I would have redesigned it completely differently.
Yeah, well,
for this purpose, da-da-da-da-da-da.
I think a lot of the buildings that are currently in play are kind of a journey of where we were in terms of design and architecture. So I'm kind of all about that. But I'm really gutted about the St. James being pulled down and not having an opportunity for that to end up being a cool space.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember...
For context, where's St. James?
St. James is in Queen Street, and then it ended up getting demolished. I think it was irretrievable, basically. But I mean, I think everything is retrievable with enough money, and I just think that there wasn't the appetite to save it. But it used to be a theatre. They had a couple of dance parties there.
Yeah, cool.
It just had a lot of atmosphere to it. It was a little bit like the Civic, but the Civic is just the Civic, and the St. James was just a bit more sort of underground and a bit more interesting.
Retro?
Yeah, it just had so many stories.
Yeah, right.
I feel that had I had the opportunity, it would have been to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I love old buildings that tell a story, and I think that certainly there is a part in history where we were better at telling stories through architecture and materials and design and things like that, and a lot of the stuff that is produced probably in the 80s and 90s, I think lacks a little bit of the charisma and style that we used to have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that I actually just recently went on a trip to America and ended up going to Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water House.
Yeah.
And that was the epitome of great design to me, where the building was an integral part of the landscape.
Okay.
And originally they were going to build the house looking at the waterfall, and Frank Lloyd Wright said, no, the building needs to be part of the waterfall.
Interesting.
So the house ends up being built over the waterfall, and it becomes a cascading part of the house. But he designed the outside, he designed the interior, he designed the furniture, he designed the light fittings, he designed every aspect of the entire house. And any project where we get to see and conceptualize from the very first idea or the connection to the exterior right through the interior to all the fixtures and fittings to the furniture, that to me is what I would love to do more of.
Yep.
And
how does one get an opportunity to do that?
very, very rarely, and especially in the fit out sector, because we are very much a short-term construction space.
Yeah.
I think the closest we get to that is in aged care. So we will often get brought on board when there's an architect, and then we'll get involved with the layout and the design and bringing vision of that
I
property.
mean, even with aged care, it's all standardized and templatized now, isn't it?
No.
It's not?
No. Gosh,
It's not?
you swear.
I swear. Oh God.
No, you are
I'll
swearing.
watch them out. I'll stop.
Well,
I don't know. I've worked on like what 2 aged care facilities as a planner. I mean, I'm not interested in how you've designed the building.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in how we're going to build it efficiently, effectively. Project controls. That's all I
Yeah,
care
well,
about.
you're probably dealing more with the architect's part, but we go right down to the specification of the crockery that's in the cafe that has to tell
really?
the same story
I
as
don't
what
know
the
that.
architect's vision was for the outside. So we can't have the office manager choosing bright red cups for a seaside feeling aged care. So we get involved in that whole process. So that would be the closest we get to it.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the 2 aged care facilities that I've worked on, get some piles on the ground, get the substructure laid, precast panel walls, concrete columns,
Well, now
flat slabs.
Yeah,
you
but-
keep going. Everything's precast.
Yeah,
Everything's
but now we're
precast.
designing for our parents or even our own generations what we're designing for. So we've got really high expectations. You know, we go out
Yeah.
for dinner to Ponsonby Central and we're
Yep.
in Parnell and stuff. So these buildings that are coming online over the next 5 to 10 years have got really high standards that they need to adhere because
Interesting.
we demand experience.
We are in the experience economy.
We are.
We are.
We need to feel it. And the whole reason why our parents or even our parents' parents never wanted to go into aged care is because they were just this stock standard, boring environment where you basically went to die. Now, I don't know if you were ever a child where you talk about with your buddies, you'd be like, hey, we should all live in the same street and we should all have our
Yeah.
That is now what aged care facilities are. They're
Oh, really?
communities. Like you go
Yeah, right.
there to hang out with a whole bunch of other cool people and go to the hair salon and happy hour and play
Yeah,
bowls
actually,
and the
you're right.
cinema.
What was it? I think it was Mother's Day last year, something. And I actually booked my missus whole massage at the aged care facility, and I was like, why is there a massage place in an aged care facility? That
Because-
just sounds fucking weird.
It's just
But
like
it's-
an experience.
it's a
They're
thing.
communities, and they're calling them like country clubs or senior living. It's not really aged care or retirement anymore. It's
Yeah.
it is the
It's part of the elite club that you're part of.
yeah. It's the communities we've all talked about.
Yeah.
Get your mates still to move in there. You see?
Thank you for your valuable insights.
Yeah, thank you.
You know,
Good chat.
really good chat.
Yeah.
Fuck, I actually genuinely enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun.
You're actually good company.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Chili marks later?
Yeah. Absolutely.
There we
I'm
go.
surprised we didn't have them beforehand.
Yeah,
Oh, ADHD would not have been good if we'd had it beforehand.
well, the one time I actually had alcohol, no, I've had alcohol a couple of times at recordings, was with Declan Bannon. He's an Irish person. He said, let's just get a bottle of Jameson Triple Double. And mate, we got wasted.
You should have done it with him yesterday on St. Patrick's Day.
I should have, eh?
Yeah.
Should have.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is an old recording, but
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. That was, he wasn't there back then, but it was insanely fucking good.
I'm a new hire. I didn't get to see that side.
Yeah. We'll bring it back later. But anyways, Liz, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything. Thank you for coming here.
Yeah,
and
it's
thank
good.
you for sharing all your valuable insights with
Yeah,
with
thank you.
the guests here.